Yeah, absolutely. I figure we can probably use that story to segue into talking a little bit about the campaign to vote uncommitted in the Michigan Democratic primary as a direct way to protest the American role in this genocide. And obviously, Joe Biden, who's overseeing and enabling the bloodshed. As the Wall Street Journal says, this is Biden's biggest 2024 challenge to date, bigger than any of the primary campaigns in their estimation. Um, and yeah, if anyone's not familiar, this is a strategy that's been signed off on by, at this point, a variety of folks in the Democratic Party, including Rashida Tlaib, who, of course, is a Palestinian American representative from the state of Michigan, as well as the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, who's Muslim. Also, the campaign recently attracted the support of Beto O'Rourke himself, actually coming out to the left of Bernie Sanders, if you can believe it, who endorsed Joe Biden in the Michigan primary. Beto is actually supporting the Uncommitted campaign in Michigan's Tuesday presidential primary. So, again, it's going to be really interesting to see how much of an effect this has. Obviously, Biden will win the state, I think, pretty much regardless of how much support the Uncommitted campaign gets. But if they can get somewhere like, 5, 10, 15% of the vote in the state, I do think that would send a pretty clear signal to Biden that he really needs that electorate, that section of the electorate, not only Palestinian Americans and Muslim Americans, but also young people, progressives, and the majority of the Democratic Party at this point who wants a ceasefire, who wants a change in the strategy and relationship to Israel after this genocidal campaign has gone on for now months and resulted in, at least 30,000, but to be honest, probably upwards of 100,000 innocent casualties in Palestine. Here's one more article I can throw up on screen before we play Michael Moore's comments, because I wanted to talk a little bit about Michael Moore's commentary as it relates to this matter. But yeah, according to CNN, Arab American Democrats are pushing for an uncommitted vote in Michigan primary to send a message to Joe Biden about Gaza. So before we get into Michael Moore's comments, Zach, what do you think about this strategy? Do you think this is going to have any effect? And, how much success do you ultimately envision this having on Tuesday?
I hope it has all the success in the world. I think that it's gaining a lot of traction, and I think that it has a lot more momentum behind it than the New Hampshire ceasefire write-in did, especially given the things that you just described. Mayor's support, sitting congressperson support, famous, one of the most famous people from Michigan support, as we'll get into. You know what I mean? This is a lot of steam, and those are not just people who have clout, but people who know how to organize. You know what I mean? Say what you will about Michael Moore. That guy is a political oracle, man. We have, like, every single time we've ever doubted that guy, and I apologize for ever doubting him. Sometimes our political forecasting was different, and every single time that guy was right and I was wrong. I'm like, God damn it, how are you always right? I want to look up to you, sensei. I learned from you. He was right when he said that the red wave of 2022, was not going to happen. He was 100% correct. He was like, no, you guys are fear mongering. I've been looking at all this shit. There's, it's always something weird where he'll be like, there's not enough yard signs. The Democrats are going to be fine, And then he's right. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, how did you figure that out? Or in 2020, when we were like, Trump's going to win again, he was like, Biden is going to absolutely clobber Donald Trump. And it's just like, holy shit, you were right. He was just like, Michigan really is a bellwether. And that dude has his thumb on Michigan, dude. That guy knows Michigan better than anybody. So I'm hoping that he's, once again correct on this. And I hope that it kicks Biden in the face. And I hope that he knows that if he doesn't change his policy quickly and severely, then he's going to lose Michigan, and then he'll lose the presidency. And if he gives a shit at all, if he has any capability of, cognitively processing things.
So there's a couple clips here, one from MSNBC, one from CNN. But yeah, we can take a look.
Thank you for your time tonight. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. And everybody get out and vote. The Michigan primary is Tuesday. I'm voting. I'm part of a group called Listen to Michigan. We're trying to send a message to Biden, and we're voting uncommitted in the primary only. But just to send that message, vote uncommitted. And for the people in California, Barbara Lee is an American hero, the only member of Congress that voted against the invasion of Afghanistan. That's the end of my sermon.
Thank you,
so
Michael.
much for having,
We appreciate
having
you.
me. Thank you. Thank you.
I love Michael Moore so much because he's a genius. So obviously Gavin and I have shot ourselves in the foot. If we were ever going to like be able to get on mainstream media, it's over for us kaput. But Michael Moore has always kept one crack open. And I think that's why he does that shit. Like, oh, you know, let's say 3 nice things about Hillary Clinton, because he's like, she's better than Donald Trump. And I guess I'll do this so that I can still do things like this, right? Like he still gets invited on CNN. And he waited. He's so smart. He waited until the entire thing was over. And then he was like, oh, I want everybody to get out a vote. So she relaxes a little bit. She's like, oh, he's going to promote the Democratic primary. But then he's like, I'm part of this group that says, do not vote for Joe Biden. And he's like, realizes he's like, doesn't want to get the mic cut. So he's like, in the primary. You know, and also Barbara Lee is an American hero. And that's when she's like, stop talking. You're going to promote Barbara Lee in the California primary. Like, this guy's based as even Gavin and I were like, it doesn't really look good for Barbara Lee. Michael Moore doesn't care. He's like, that woman is badass. And if you watch Fahrenheit 9/11, you will see that Michael Moore absolutely adores Barbara Lee for not just the war votes, obviously, but because she stood up against the Supreme Court decision to not count thousands of African-American votes in Florida in the 2000 election. You guys might have heard of the hanging Chad controversy. Well, that shit massively undercounted the black vote of Florida in the electorate, which had predominantly, almost exclusively gone to Al Gore and would have swung the election in his favor. But there was nobody in the Senate that was willing to speak up for the black electorate, only a few brave, courageous individuals, including Barbara Lee, in Congress. So that's a little historical tidbit for you guys if you're wondering why Michael Moore is so devoted to that lady. She's made a lot of good votes, and yeah, sometimes it's been cringy, but by and large, just a tremendously better candidate than Adam Schiff or Katie Porter.
Oh, yeah. And specifically on the issue of Israel and Palestine, she's way better than Katie Porter. So I think that's why she's getting a lot of support from progressives and people like Michael Moore. Here's another clip from MSNBC of Michael Moore talking about the Uncommitted campaign.
The war and his hugging Netanyahu. You know, we all have a responsibility, as I've said to you before in this show, to protect our Jewish brothers and sisters forever, because of what they've been through forever. But this war now, this slaughter, the carpet bombing, all the other stuff, that is not only not getting the hostages released, which they need to be released now, it has turned young people against Biden.
So let me give you, with the 30 seconds you have left, your view, as someone who, again, has called some stuff before, is that the perception of strong or even unconditional support for Israel is hurting Biden with voters in a way that will continue through November if they don't change.
Yes,
absolutely.
Dumbass.
And when our primary in Michigan is next week, and there is a line on our ballot that says uncommitted. And people in Michigan have organized a large group, I'm part of it, who are, you know, we don't want Trump in the White House. We don't believe that young people are going to say, if they're not going to vote for Biden, well, they're going to vote for Trump. They're not going to vote for Trump. That's how the only way Trump can win is if people stay home.
Right.
And if young people stay home.
Yeah.
Or yes, but that they're not going to win. So the only way that
Sorry, Jill.
Biden can hand the election to Trump if he does not understand why young people hate war, don't want war, and they are going to not show up. And next week, they're going to see,
we'll keep an eye on that. We had you for 2 blocks tonight, which we're lucky for. If you want to come back after Michigan, this is sometimes a live TV, but when you come back, we'll talk more about this and other things that we learned. So
radical.
We'll keep an eye on Michigan.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely crazy. One of the few guests that I'm like, I know our media career has gone way better than any of us ever thought. And I mean, that's, you know, judging by our metrics, not anybody else's, you know, metrics of success. Obviously, we're not super well known, but the one guy left on our list, I think, to chase down an interview. We've been super fortunate. You know, Gavin and I got to interview Noam Chomsky before he really kind of stopped doing a lot of interviews. You know what I mean? It was a, you know, tremendous honor. We've interviewed a lot of people that we deeply admire. Would love to get Michael Moore on the podcast.